forward to this. Hi, it's Matt Kendall here. My lighting's gone a bit. Yeah, it keeps coming out really sunny and then going raining at the same time. I'm speaking with Kate Thorpe today, who did her IEMT practitioner training with myself online in June of 2024. Um, we're just going to be talking about her experience going through the course and how she's been using IEMT with her clients since. So, good afternoon, it's afternoon now. Good afternoon, Kate. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good, thanks, Matt. Yes, are you well?
And I am well. I'm just busy, busy, busy. Uh, whereabouts in the world are you?
I'm in a small town called Glossop in Derbyshire, which is sort of east of Manchester. You think of the M60 around Manchester as a
Hmm.
clock. It's about 3 o'clock.
I was in Marple and that area the other day.
Not far
So
from me.
yeah, so I was on that. It's, yeah, the Peak District. It's very hilly.
It is. In fact, we're probably the last bastion of civilization on this
Yeah,
side of the Pennines before you hit sort of Yorkshire and you're
yeah,
over the top. So
yeah. Because I drove back to York and I came like the via Barnsley way. That yeah, no, it was very nice.
Woodhead, yeah.
Yeah, right, okay, IMT. Right, so basically, for those who haven't seen these before, it's basically centered around four questions. What the client, what not the client, what the person was doing before, therapy-wise, why they wanted to do IMT, how they heard about it, what they thought about going through the training, through the course, and how they've been using it since. So let's start to the beginning. Kate Thorpe, this is your life. What did you, before IMT, what kind of work was it you were doing? What was your sort of your career path, really?
Okay, so I originally I was a solicitor, which I did for 20 years,
Oh,
and
wow.
then life crises and my own therapy eventually led me to realize that that had to change. So I came to therapy in my 40s and sort of been I'm in my ninth year now, so I can't
Oh.
quite believe how fast that's gone, but
Mm,
absolutely the best thing. So because I'd come to it so late, I didn't want to go back to university and do that whole student thing again. And so I sort of learned a variety of different ways of working, one of which was actually a postgrad. So I started out with clinical hypnotherapy, and then I discovered that I just had such a desire to learn more and more about this whole therapy malarkey. And
mm,
so EFT in various different forms, because there's so many ways of doing that,
mm.
counseling and talking therapies. I've also studied metaphors of movement
Oh, yeah.
with Andy Austin and with Masha Bennett, who's now one of the trainers for that. Sand play, identity healing, mindfulness. So various different things that I sort of incorporate. And I describe myself really as an integrative therapist because
Mm.
my specialism is anxiety and a
Okay.
subspecialism of sleep difficulties. And
Oh, okay.
it covers a multitude of different things, and there's no one size fits all. And that's really
No.
what I've learned, that there isn't a one size fits all solution to
Yeah.
people's problems, hence the variety.
So you were a
Um,
solicitor for 20 years, went for therapy yourself,
yes.
got an interest in therapy, learnt all these different tools, techniques, and approaches.
Yeah.
So then you were doing all these different tools, different techniques. Was
Hmm.
it through metaphors of movement you then found out about IEMT, or was it a different way that you heard about it?
It was both actually, because obviously I'd heard it from Andrew Austin about IEMT,
Yeah.
but I was talking with a colleague of mine who was the one who originally said, "Yeah, go and do therapy, Kate." You know, she was really supportive.
Right.
And I was because I hadn't done that degree course that meant I can call myself a psychotherapist.
Yeah.
Um, because I was obviously I do a lot of trauma work. Um, then I was looking at EMDR and couldn't
Mm.
do it because I don't have the right qualifications, as it were. And my lovely colleague, it was Masha Bennett actually, was saying, well, look at IEMT because, well, for lots of reasons. And so when I looked at it and I was sort of comparing reports of people who studied both of them, and I thought, well, actually, if I did have the choice of doing either, I would have probably chosen to do IEMT because it seems to be more encompassing
Mm.
and to the point. and so on. So yes, that's kind of how I heard about it, partly through direct from source, but also from other
Okay.
sources as well. So, and
So
the writing
learning
got
about it, how did you then come across me? How come you come to do my course out of all the different providers?
um well, I had originally done the IEMT course some years ago. It was in COVID, I think, with somebody else, and it was really good, but it was so mind-boggling. And I was able to use bits of it, but not very much, and it didn't quite make sense in some
Right.
of the things that the ways that I was doing. And then I had sort of seen you in amongst the IEMT community and on the page, and I thought, I really want to do some more of this and understand it better because I know that I'm not using it for
Mm,
its full potential. I thought, right, so let's learn it from somebody different who has a different style and a different teaching style and a different personality and everything. I was like, right, and I'd read reviews about you and I'd seen what people were saying that your teaching was kind of straightforward and not jargony, which
mm,
suits me perfectly because I'm
mm.
not a jargony person.
Yeah.
And the fact that they'd sort of come away from it and just being able to use it, I thought that's what I need. So that's really why I came to you and I thought, right, yeah, and here we are.
Brilliant. Okay. So you did your training originally with somebody else, and a lot of, in fact, on the weekend just gone, I had 11 people. I think four or five people had done their training already. And it's just I'm not trying to compare my training with any other trainers. Everyone has their skills and weaknesses, I suppose. And what a lot of people do go through the IMT training and they've had a really good time, but they don't know sort of what to do with it now. So what I try to do is I try to break it down and make it very modular and show you how bit in bit by bit. So when I do a training, I send out the information a week beforehand. I do the training itself, and then like today, I do a weekly Q&A every morning, every Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. And every last Tuesday of the month, I do like an interactive coaching session, which is all included. And like I say, that's once a month throughout an hour and a half. So, from your experience, and I don't want to compare it to your other training. That's,
No.
that's completely different. So,
Mhm.
as a training in itself, what did you think about the pre-course materials? What did you think about going through the course? And what did you think, or what do you think about the aftercare and community support as well?
Okay, so the pre-course materials were really helpful because, as I say, they're written in a language that's clear, that's concise, it's not waffly, and it's not too jargony,
Hmm.
and it's understandable. And it was, I mean, there was quite a lot to read, but it was helpful to do that so that I was at least familiar with some of the terminology. Of course, well, we can't be completely jargon free. There is
Yeah,
terminology,
yeah,
and it was helpful to understand some of that beforehand and also get a bit of an idea of what it might be about. So I found that really helpful. um and of course I wrote all over my manual during the during the course and filled a notebook with notes and what have you. And the training itself, I mean, it's quite intense because it's over a whole weekend, and because there's so much practical work, because
Mm,
you make us use it, you make us do it,
I
right?
know.
It's none of this
Mm,
theory malarkey. It's like, no, you have to do it and experience it, of course, which I think is
yeah,
so important for any kind of
yeah.
therapy. If you haven't experienced it yourself, then probably shouldn't be doing it. I just said that out loud, didn't I? But that's my view. Anyway,
I completely understand. Yeah.
okay.
Mm,
And so that was really helpful, both in understanding what it's like as a client to undergo the processes, but also to see it demoed so often and to have the chance to practice with colleagues who
yeah,
are also in the same position. So it
yeah,
doesn't matter if we make mistakes, and which of course we
absolutely.
all did.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just really helpful to have all of that theory, but the practice as well, and the opportunity to watch you go through some of the processes with a willing volunteer,
Yeah.
and be able to ask questions about it and just be
Mm,
really sort of real in that feedback. And it just really enhanced the understanding of it so much. And it made sense because, again, the order, and you were saying you designed it deliberately to be kind of modular. And that really worked for me
Yeah.
because breaking it down into small chunks meant that I could, oh, that it means that. And it just made a lot more sense to build up the learning rather
Mm,
than, well, here's all the information and here's the eye movements and off you go.
mm.
Oh, okay. So I found that really helpful. Although I was absolutely shattered after the training.
Yeah.
After like,
Imagine being me. Yeah. Do it
bless
every
you.
month.
But then because the training's recorded and you give us access to the recordings as well, I mean, I have gone back over them more than once,
Mm,
and that has been again really helpful just to sort of solidify certain things because you can't possibly take everything in, or well, I
no,
certainly can't anyway,
no.
all at once. It was something that is so rich,
Mm,
and something so full. So being able to go back over it and solidify that understanding and what have you. And quite often the questions that I had in my mind had been asked on the session. So it was, oh, there's the answer. Right.
yeah.
Okay. So that was really helpful as well. So I really enjoyed it. And I have to say that I struggle with doing case studies or qualifying in anything because
Mm,
various reasons. But um, I have now certified in IEMT, which I'm delighted about. And it's the first thing that I've actually formally certified in for a number of years because I find
right.
the certification process is very complex, difficult, and long-winded. And
Mm,
that's not a criticism of anything else. I realize sometimes it has to be that way, but this wasn't, and it made it really accessible. That I just thought I can actually do this, and
mm.
so I was really excited about that aspect of it as well. So yeah.
Yeah, no, 'cause what I found is when I used to teach the course a few years ago, I stuck to the original manual, really. And I rewrote it. Um, it's been checked, obviously, and it's all the same material, just in a. It's the thing is, a lot of the trainers are very, very intelligent and have degrees in psychology and all. So I almost think that my lack of intellect around this, so I simplify everything, is actually a strength in a weird kind of way. So when I used to just teach the material as is or as was, and in that kind of style, almost in a Bandler-esque kind of style, where you will understand this afterwards, kind of, and people just going to me, this is confusing. I don't really it looks great, but I don't know what to do. And so out of say 10 people who did the course, two people would go for the certification.
Yeah.
And so I thought there's something wrong there. And also, I was actually appealing to the wrong type of person. I used to run a lot of meetup groups, and there was like psychology based. So people were coming for a weekend of stuff to do,
Mm,
as opposed to going for a certification. So as I sort of did more and more, I wanted to focus more on people who are already therapists and want to add this to what they're doing. And I want to train it as if you can start using it tonight. You can take it away and you can start using it tonight. And some people do,
mm,
they actually start using it straight away. And now when I train a group of 10 people, at least, well, let's just say they haven't done the certification before. Out of that, at least 8 people will go for the certification. So
mm,
some people just never will for whatever reason, or life gets in the way, but it's now a much higher percentage of people who do that as well. So you're saying on the course it's very practical and you get to see me demo everything.
mm,
I don't like going on a course and people asking me to do something which one they haven't seen, or two, the trainer can't actually do, but they expect you to do it. And I've been on several courses, like not IEMT, but different kind of courses, or it only works because it's the trainer doing it in front of a group, and you know. So with IEMT, I like to have a four-step process with every module. I explain it with that presentation. I then do it with somebody. I actually do the demonstration with somebody. You then go into a private breakout room with one other person, and you get to take on both roles as practitioner and client. You get to swap over. And then we come back into the main room and we discuss what happened. We discuss your results, your problems. And then once we're up to speed, we move on to the next part. And I just find that kind of keeps everybody, progressing at the same time. And because it's all recorded, you can go back. Yeah, you can go back and watch everything as well.
Absolutely. And
So
I think that was really important when you were saying about keeping people with you.
yeah,
That again in other trainings, it's if you miss an important point in the first module, you all your mind is doing is
just
focusing
thinking
on
about it.
that.
Yeah.
And that just didn't happen with your
Mm,
training because I think of that way that you designed it. So it
yeah.
really worked for me because that's how my mind works. And if I,
Yeah.
it was being able to understand it and ask the questions and
Mm,
do the stuff to build it up that really paid dividends for me and meant it all actually did make sense in the end,
yeah.
which was wonderful. So yeah,
And
really great training style, Matt.
after I've been on multiple different trainings, and what I have found is that afterwards, if I have questions or need help or something, it's not really there unless I've connected with people who are on the course and I speak with them directly. So what I try to do with my trainings is that every week we have a Q&A session. Every month we have a training, like a specialist training, a coaching
Mm,
session. There's a very active Facebook group and there's a WhatsApp group with 100, people. So
yeah.
how has the aftercare been for you? And especially compared, not just the other INT, but just different courses you've been on. So what's this aftercare been like?
Um, well, I have to be honest, it's probably the best aftercare of any of the courses that I have done because it's really comprehensive
Hmm.
with all of those different avenues that you offer. You probably should be charging for it more, Matt.
I know. I know.
But I mean that's just it's
Mm,
incredible what you do give and what you do offer. So and I often can't attend things because I'm not very good in the
yeah.
evenings. But again, the fact that they're recorded and I can watch them at other times is
Yeah.
super, convenient. The WhatsApp group is great and it is very lively, and I do sort of turn notifications off from time
Oh,
to
I do.
time.
I do.
I think
Yeah.
probably everyone does,
Yeah,
but
of course.
it
Yeah.
just shows how engaged people are, which is really nice. It's not one of those groups that you join and go, no one says anything,
Yeah.
no one does anything. And I learn quite a lot just from that with people sharing their experiences. So while I don't sit there and trawl through everything, that I was like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, someone's had that experience, and that is really, really great as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the aftercare is brilliant because I feel much more confident and in very safe hands being able to
Mm,
actually practice this properly. Because I'm not a beginner therapist anymore.
mm,
I've been doing it for a while. And so learning something new and weaving that into what I do is in some ways more nerve-wracking now because I have different expectations and standards of myself. And of course, so do
mm.
people that come to me. So it's more important than ever that I get it as right as
Yeah.
I can do.
Mm,
I'm human, but yeah. And so knowing that you're there because you're really approachable as well, and you've always answered my questions if I had them, whether privately or within the group,
hmm.
and that's just been brilliant. So it actually really breeds confidence, in helping people do the stuff. It's not just about the learning, it's this
Yeah.
is how we do it practically. And that has just been brilliant and so encouraging. So as I say, it's the best out of anything that I've ever done, really. So
And because
thank you.
the vast majority of the people, well, I get people from different kind of avenues, but a very large section of that is through referral from people who have done the course,
Yeah,
and they're getting the results, and obviously because birds of a feather flock together, so
sure.
they will tell other people go and do this because I don't just want somebody to do the course last year and then that's it. I want them to be part of what we're doing, because I think IMT is a very exciting area of
Mm,
therapy and it's developing rapidly at the moment. And
yeah.
so I want when somebody I don't want somebody to go to like, oh, just go check this out and they go to a Facebook group that hasn't been used in 3 months, or there's no content. That's why I put out content continually.
Yeah.
Like this is content, which will go out. And then like I say, weekly Q&As. You don't need to be a member or a past attendee to join. You can come and join those for free.
Hmm.
The coaching sessions are really designed for people who've been on the training, but it doesn't matter if don't mind. You can come along anyway. Um, and yeah, and the fact is that I don't want you just to. I don't having a bit of paper with your name on it
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything. You know, it's the fact that people are using it and continue to use it, and a lot of people use it as their main modality after
Yeah.
learning, which is really, which is great.
Mm.
Um, but I want you to continue using it. And if you have problems, even 2 years, 2 or 3 years after you qualified or certified, not qualified, that you've got somewhere to come and, you know, and share ideas, ask questions. And also, what I love about the Facebook group and the WhatsApp group, you'll get my opinion and loads of other people's as well.
Yeah.
So, on in my Facebook group, there's Sonia, Andy, there's loads of the other trainers. So, and some
Mm.
very highly skilled advanced practitioners. So I will give my answer, but you'd also get different answers from different levels of expertise and backgrounds as well. So,
Yeah.
which is all good. And I just think that when when you pay your money to do the course, I think half of the money's for the course, half of the money's for the aftercare.
Right.
And so I like to put a lot of effort into that because I want you to be confident in using it because I know how good the skills are,
Mhm.
applying them, and I want you to be excited about using it. And again, feel that sense of community and security so you can come back, ask questions, and ask people to do practice sessions and stuff with, which I highly encourage as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So after the course, you go and do two case studies,
Mm.
which you then work on, send it back, which you obviously can talk about. But what I'm interested in as well is how you've used IEMT. You've got all these other skills. So
Mhm.
how you use it, do you use it purely? Do you integrate it? What kind of clients you work with? What kind of results you get? And any particular favorite clients or experiences you've had? Go on, go, go, go. I will let you free to talk as long as you
Blimey.
like.
Right. So how do I use it is in all the ways that you mentioned. So
Mm,
rarely will I do standalone IEMT because it's not generally how I would work, but I have done. And I have spoken with clients who we work with in various methodologies, and I said, I think this could benefit from, IEMT, and we talk about it. So we might then arrange a session that is pure IEMT using just one of the protocols. And then we'll do that, and then we'll continue with whatever else we were doing, and see, talk about those changes, which quite miraculous in some cases.
mm,
So it doesn't happen often that I do it that way, but sometimes I will, and there's real benefit in that. A lot of the time I will just whip my wand. I mean, I use a magic wand because I like it.
right. Okay.
And yeah, it lights up and everything. That is so cool.
Right.
Um, and sometimes I will whip my wand out with clients too, because it just seems an appropriate moment or issue that's come up that
Yeah.
would benefit from just how straight and to the point and quick IEMT can be
Yeah.
in helping us explore what is really going on here, rather than the usual BS that we tell ourselves is going on. And so, when so it's integrative and it's standalone. And sometimes yeah, it's not sometimes really. These days it's probably my top two methodologies that I really rely on. And immediately after the training, it had gone from somewhere around number 10 because I just really wasn't sure what I was doing with it.
Yeah.
You know, the Monday after the training, or one of my first client was, I was like, right, this is what we're doing, gonna do this now. And the results were really sort of coming fairly thick and fast. And obviously I was able to do that because I'd done the trading before and
Mm.
what have you. But yeah, it was really quite incredible how um just how much everything made sense and how easy it is to integrate into a way of working,
Yeah.
because it's taught as a standalone, very clearly that it's so easy to combine it with other things if that's your bag. And
Mm.
that's one of the beauties of it, that you know you don't have to have lots of different therapies under your belt to be a good IMT practitioner and to get good results for your
Mm.
clients, whether you're a therapist, coach, or whatever. And I think because it's so versatile and it can fit in so many ways, that it's just one of the beauties of it. So I generally use it quite integratively.
And
Um,
can I just ask, because you say getting clients results, Could
Yes.
you just give a little bit more detail in when, because there'll be people watching this who don't really know what IEMT is and what it actually does. So when you say when you're using the tools and techniques to get results, sorry, get rid
Hmm.
of that. Um, what kind of results do your clients experience when you're doing the eye movements and the different algorithms and stuff?
So, one client that I've been working with had a difficult childhood memory of parents splitting up, and always the same emotional response whenever that memory came up, and it was so predominant in lots of things. And the annoying thing for her was that she understood why she was feeling that way, all of
Yeah,
the insight, but nothing was changing. And so
yeah.
we worked on the memory using IEMT protocols. And I'm not quite sure what I was expecting. I think I was expecting quite a big ab reaction and a lot of emotion and
Mm,
distress coming out. And actually, what happened at the end, she said, right, well, I just decided I'm not going to be annoyed about that anymore. I was blimey, and such a
yeah.
change in that yeah, I do not have to be upset about that. I've had enough of it. And the way that she viewed the event in question, the way that she felt about it, it changed her physical state, it changed her pattern of thinking in um, um, how she was when she was sort of experiencing the impact of that event.
Mm,
And it just really changed it. And it was so quick and really, it was understated. It wasn't
yeah,
fireworks and it
yeah.
wasn't deep emotional distress. It's like, oh,
Do you know
right.
what, do you know what I find? If you've got this big emotional loaded memory,
Mm,
you don't need another big force to fight it.
no.
And so by almost by deflating it and taking the power away, it's like deflating a balloon. It just
Mm,
allows it to literally reduce down
yeah.
to the point where it's just not significant. It's just something that happens just in my past. It's
Yeah.
because as humans, we try to make meaning out of things. So that happened to me, therefore it means I am like this kind of thing. And this is what I often find is I don't really have ab reactions. I sometimes, when I'm doing it, so on the training course, I was doing one of the identity, I, me, self, you, with this woman who'd specifically come on the course to really focus on this. And she was quite teary as we were doing it, but it's because she was releasing so much stuff as opposed to being re-traumatized by having to speak about it. It was the release of letting it go rather than because it was actually upsetting her.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's my experience is that when emotion does come, that's the process that's happening. It isn't
Mm,
re-traumatizing that can happen with some other methods if we're not
mm,
careful. So yeah, absolutely. Um, then there's another lady that I work with who again, I wanted to broach the subject of IEMT with her because I thought it would help. And she's somebody who likes to talk about things and very cognitive and understand and
yeah,
rationalize. And so I say, okay, well, how's about, I've got this magic wand thing here. How's about we just, give this a go? And we talked about it, obviously.
yeah,
And she, again, it was a childhood memory, and she felt, I think, for the first time, she felt compassion
yes,
for herself.
yeah,
And it really took her by surprise. So there
yeah,
was actually some emotion there, and it took her a bit by surprise because she had never really experienced self-compassion in
yeah,
a very connecting personal way. And this was some months ago now, and she still refers to that session.
yeah.
Um,
It's what I find is that when you see a childhood memory from an adult perspective, it changes your understanding. And what I find is people often say that shouldn't have happened to that young person. And also, it wasn't about me, it was about other people. And I was, it shouldn't have happened.
yeah.
But it wasn't about me, it's not what I did. And when you can see it from that perspective, it really does change your understanding of it. So,
And it also opened a gateway for further exploration and healing for her because it was after that that more things then began to come up
yeah.
and that she had never spoken of
Yeah.
in her life, that she then did begin to speak of them in the therapy room. And again, it's a very different level now of emotional healing. And yes,
Mm,
we still get the wand out on occasion, but it's that opening of the self-compassion and the change in perspective has enabled her to begin the
mm,
process of unpicking that as well,
yeah.
which has again been really amazing. So as well as bringing about a change in a specific issue, I have often found that after that, the changes that continue to percolate after the session just open up more in terms of direction,
Yeah.
understanding, and ultimately healing, which is kind of why
Yeah.
we're all here.
And I've spoken to many counselors who use IEMT, and what the general kind of theme is, they will use IEMT, especially more during the first few sessions, to do the heavy lifting, and then basically they'll bring out IEMT when something becomes very emotionally loaded, traumatic, and stuff, because just talking about that will cause them to be upset and re-traumatize. But if they do IEMT on it, they can then talk about it. And I do think talking things through is great, very beneficial, but not if it's not going to create any change and not if it's going to upset the client.
Absolutely. That's an ethos that I share, Matt, and it's one of the reasons why I really love using IMT so much because, yeah, I would lose patience if my job involved endlessly talking about stuff
Mm,
until a change happened. I wouldn't be doing it.
mm,
And it is for me about bringing about a positive change for the client.
yeah,
What we can't always control what that looks like. Well, very rarely do we do that.
mm,
But IMT is certainly a way of bringing about change in a positive and supportive way. That some of the things that, people have felt completely unable to approach, whether in therapy or with themselves, become approachable afterwards. And, that's a
yeah,
wonderful thing to see.
absolutely.
I
So
took,
just,
so I was just going to use another
oh
example
yeah,
of
go on, please do,
uh,
please do. Mm,
like with the identity work as well, because that was something I never really got before, how the identity work all sort of factors in. And yeah, I really enjoy doing identity work now with people because when you learn to listen for the language that's coming up and all right, okay, this is one of those things, and whether it's a the longer process where we go through all of the different aspects or
yeah,
just a shorter one, again, the impact can be really quite amazing. So working with someone who is having some marital discord, shall we say, and the situation was it was about conflict with the spouse,
yeah,
and not being able to speak her mind, and again a real entrenched pattern
mm,
of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that meant that she felt unable to stand up for herself. And we did the whole ID protocol.
mm,
And afterwards, in fact, we have met since, and she has spoken. And in a funny way, she hasn't really realized she's been doing it. But she has been
mm,
speaking differently, not just in, that relationship, but in different areas of life as well. And the fact that she's discovering that confidence within herself to be able to do that, I think that's wonderful. That
mm,
and that she's telling me about it. But
yeah,
yeah, that has sort of come about since we've done that identity work specifically on a situation involving a particular person. But that identity work has actually helped her in many other life situations that are reminiscent of that. So she's actually not so backward in standing up for herself and in um, not embracing conflict, but dealing with it in a more
mm,
constructive way that means that she is seen and heard. And that is so powerful.
brilliant. And can I ask, do you tend to see people in person? Do you do it online? Do you do a mixture? What do you do?
Mostly in person, but I do quite a bit online as well. And one of the great things about IEMT is you can do it both. And I've not noticed any difference in outcome, really,
Mm,
or the efficacy of it, whether it's online or whether it's in
yeah.
person.
It's like
So,
I used to do all my sessions in person pre-pandemic. And I used to work from central London. I worked in many different offices. I was on Harley Street for a while, didn't like it there. Then I was in like Monument area, Bank area. I was on Old Street, and then I went down to the Psychosynthesis Centre, which is on Old Street, not Old Street, sorry, London Bridge, around there, and I was there for years. And what I found is that when somebody was coming to London for a therapy session, especially if they're coming from the outskirts or stuff, by the time they get to my therapy room, they're in a right state. It's like
that's
because they've had to
great.
deal with London, it's like, oh. And so they come there, they've got coffee all over them, someone's hit them with an umbrella, they've been mugged, they've had the phone stolen, and they just turn up crying. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, hi. When I work with people now, they're at home. And so they're actually in a much more relaxed state because they haven't
Mm.
had that hour and a half treacherous journey. Um, and so I've actually found it to work as well, if not possibly even better.
Mm.
Because when you're working online, my screen I can really see people's eyes really clearly. I get them to sit forward, and I can actually move in closer than would be normal when I'm with
Yeah.
somebody, because it'd be a
It's
bit
my
like,
personal
yeah,
space.
exactly. We can work on that. And so I have found that, I can really get people to sort of sit up close, and as long as they have a decent connection, decent lighting, basically exactly how you're kind of set up, that's how I'd work with people. It does work really, really well.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to finish on just a couple of things. Who are your clients? Who's your sort of general client? I know you're saying sort of, I think it was anxiety and uh,
Sleep.
who and sleep. So
Yeah.
anxiety and sleep. And is that sort of your bread and butter type of work? Do people come for you for other stuff or what? Yeah,
It's mostly what I do. Is where my main interest lies. I mean, I do some other stuff that's, you know, shorter term with hypnotherapy, for instance. Some people want to quit smoking or they want to do something
yeah,
else. Um, but yeah, it's mostly in the realm of anxiety, which actually, of course, covers a multitude of sins
of
because
course. Yeah,
anxiety is just a state and a feeling. It's not,
yeah,
it's not, it becomes a problem, but there's always a cause, um, if that makes sense. So actually, it lots of people from different circumstances. I
yeah.
think the majority, if I had to generalize, I think I work with mostly women and mostly 40 plus.
Okay.
Um, but actually, it's quite varied at the minute. I work with a number of guys, and there's also, younger people as well, sort of in their early 20s.
Okay.
So, and I have worked with people up to, 82. So
Yeah.
it's never too late. It's never too late. So yeah, it's quite varied. It's more sort of the issue of the feeling of anxiety that is sort of brings them, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, and like I say, anxiety, well, as we do the three pillar model in IMT, we're looking at what supports the anxiety, what's underneath the anxiety. And
Exactly.
obviously a lot of lifestyle factors cause anxiety, which I suppose if you're how long do you usually work with a client for, or is it just completely dependent on the client?
Very dependent on the client, and I get quite flexible with that. So yeah, sometimes it's a matter of weeks, sometimes it can be
Mm,
months, sometimes it can be, years. And it's not like, they're coming to me every week. I don't
no.
generally work that way. It's not, if someone's coming to me for more than 12 months, it's likely we're meeting, every 2 to 4 weeks, or got to a point where it's check-in. So, my ultimate aim is to make myself redundant from somebody's life. If I can achieve that,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. It's not a great business model, Matt,
I
but
know, I know. I
but
know.
as an ethical therapeutic model, it works for me. But yeah, of course, everybody's different. Everyone's different.
Can
So,
I ask, since really incorporating IMT,
mm,
sort of how your results have sort of changed, and also the amount of referrals and people talking about you and stuff like that as well since incorporating IEMT into your practice, how's that been?
Um, People do talk about it actually. Surprisingly, there's a whole community out there of people that talk about us behind our backs. And more, it seems to have been quite positive, which I'm happy to say. But yeah, I've had a number of referrals from existing or former clients, which is absolutely lovely, and
Yeah,
eternally grateful for
yeah,
for that kind of referral because it means an awful lot to me.
yeah,
But clearly it's meant something to them as well that they've got some value out of it. But people are clients are really surprised by the impact
yeah,
and speed at which IMT can bring about a positive change.
yeah.
And I think that's what they talk about when it comes to IEMT. So, they're like, oh, I was telling my friend, and you wave this magic wand, and this
Mm.
happened, and it's oh wow, it's like
I
great.
think in the UK there's still quite an element of shame going for therapy, and we often don't tell people because we don't want to admit that we're going for therapy or psychotherapy. What
Yes.
I've found is when people come for IMT, they like to chat about it with people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
they
they
really do,
do. Because
And
it's so different in that they don't have to sit there and speak about their deeper meaningfuls
yeah,
and retell a story they've told, I don't know how many times.
yeah,
And
it's
it's,
so many you therapy types, you
yes.
know. And can I ask as well, have you noticed any kind of physical differences in clients when they come back for the second or third session in terms of skin tone, gaits,
I
radiance? You know what I mean, though,
I
aura.
do. I often notice a change. I call it a change in their energy. And I notice that, quite often there is, they may be sitting upright more, they may be smiling more, they are brighter.
Yeah.
Um, there is a glow, an energy. There's something that is that's different that
Mm,
looks more positive, and generally that tells me that something is shifting in a
yeah.
good way. Whether we know what that is or understand it, I've kind of got beyond the point of having to understand exactly what that is.
Mm,
If it's good, then it's in, that's fine. Um, but yes, and that's one of the reasons why I love it so much because it can be that quick after a session, there can be a positive change. Um, and you hear it when people, how have you been? Oh, well, I've done this and I've done that,
yeah, yeah.
blimey, it's like
Yeah.
you probably don't need to be here anymore. And then you start having the ending sort of closure conversations like, well, do you mean I'm all fixed? And this, it's like, well, it's not what I think, is what you think. But it means that we
Yeah.
can maybe have some of those closing conversations more quickly, which is kind of a win-win for everyone, except the business model, but it's a win for the client.
I like to think though, because you people are coming and getting results, because a lot of people will go for therapy to prove that that therapy doesn't work for them,
Yeah,
and which is bizarre, really. But I find that when people actually really get results,
yeah.
and not necessarily the results which they were thinking, because what they think the problem is often not the problem. And when they actually have a much deeper discovery and, create a different life really through doing stuff like IEMT, um, obviously then they will then tell people because this is something which has really worked for them. And
Yeah.
so that's what I have found, and that's why with the trainings and why I do stuff like this, I don't do any showy stuff. I don't do really any sort of promotion, as in paid advertising or anything like that. It's mainly from people who have done the training and want to refer people back. Can I
Mm.
ask you before I let you go? There will be some people watching this today because they are doing research on IMT, they're doing research on me, they're doing research on trauma, they're doing research on different therapy types. Obviously, I would like them to come and do the training. I would like them to do IMT training. In fact, let me ask you that before we get to that. You did your training with somebody else first of all, and then you came
Yeah.
back and did it again.
Yes.
What benefit did you find? So regardless of it, whether it's my training or what did you find the benefit of doing the training twice as well? Can I just ask?
Doing it twice. I already had some familiarity with
Yeah.
it. Um, if I hadn't have done it twice, I wouldn't have certified. If
Right.
I hadn't have trained with you in the way that you deliver the training, I probably wouldn't have certified. If I'd repeated the course that I'd done the first time, I'm not sure what would have been different,
Right.
if
Okay.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the benefit to me was doing it differently,
Hmm.
experiencing the whole process with a different trainer, with a different mindset, as you talked about.
Hmm.
I'm thinking, blimey, that works.
Yeah.
And here, and then being able to go on and do the case studies and certify.
Well,
So massive, massive benefit.
yeah, because what I find, because a lot of people do it twice with myself, because it's a weekend and it's quite intensive and it's quite overwhelming in some parts. But people say that when they come back and do it again, because they know what it's like, they can prepare better. They can go. They
Mm.
just take stuff on a deeper level, and they're coming for a lot more like mastery of the techniques and stuff as well. So yeah, so that's what I hear an awful lot.
I will probably book back on again. Possibly not this year, but certainly
Mm,
next year, because I think we're always learning, and things are
yeah,
always being tweaked and changed and
yeah,
evolving. And for me, you don't just learn something once and call it good.
yeah,
That's not really how I like to be. So I quite often repeat trainings, and when I find a trainer that I can gel with and get some good result with,
yeah,
it's like, hello, I'm signed up for life, really. But it's yeah, it's good to know that is there as well, and that I can do a
yeah,
refresh, because you can't possibly take away everything, or
yeah,
I can't
exactly.
possibly take away
Yeah,
everything from that, from a weekend. But
and
so
that's
yeah,
why I
I will
offer a
look forward to
50%
doing it again.
discount. Yeah, 50% discount for people who want to come and do it again. Um,
Awesome.
and so the question I was going to ask before I asked that other question was, there are people researching this, researching me, researching IEMT, are on the fence about whether they should get certified or do the training in this. So speaking to those people who are here just watching, going, I don't know if it's for me. I don't think what the claims or what people are reporting in IEMT can possibly be true because it sounds crazy. What do
Mm.
you have to say to those people who are watching this?
Um, Go and find out. Find out for yourself. If you think it's too good to be true, then go and find out. It's my experience that it's certainly not too good to be true, and it's probably even more amazing than you might have heard.
Thank you.
And yeah,
Kate Thorpe, do you have a social media presence? Do you have a website if people want to get into contact with you?
I'm
Things like that.
updating my website at the moment to include my EMT certification. But yes, I do. It's katethorpe.com. Thank you for asking. And I'm on LinkedIn, Kate Thorpe, and I'm on Facebook, Kate Thorpe, just as my name is spelled. You know, tend to hang around those sorts of places. But yeah, yeah. So I'm
Well,
talk to me about marketing is like, and
yeah,
I shut up and just get a bit embarrassed about it. But yes, I'm on all of those places, and it's lovely to connect with other therapists and practitioners. And actually, I find that really useful as well. Just something else to say, because
mm,
for onward referral as well. Because,
yeah,
and of course, I'm an amazing therapist. I'm not the right therapist for everybody, far
yeah,
from it. And so building that network of other practitioners that actually have been through some pretty good training themselves but can offer
yeah,
something different than I can, that is also really, really
yeah.
useful.
I offer anybody who comes to me with a child, then I refer off straight away to several people. So I'm not going to touch that. So
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Well, Kate, thank you very much for your time today. And I will, if you're coming to the coaching this evening, I'll see you there. If not, I'll see you in the very near future. Thank you very much for your time. I can't speak now. Thank you. Thanks,
Thanks
Kate.
so much, Matt. See you soon.
Bye.